Yes, hello friends. The last topic of Sale of Goods Act 1930. Yes, we started with the journey of Sale of Goods Act with the first chapter as to what is the meaning of goods and various other definitions, mobility factor, and so on and so forth. Then we went on to understand what is conditions and warranties and its related topics. Then we moved on to understand transfer of titles and, of course, the delivery part and the subtle nuances related to these chapters. Now we come to the fag end of Sale of Goods Act 1930. Very interesting scenario and very interesting chapter. If you ask me, I give 70% weightage, that is a chance for exams. This chapter, that is the rights of an unpaid seller, definitely has a 70 to 80% chance for exams. So I would insist on you, not request on you this time, I would insist on you to go through this chapter. If you have, of course, any doubts, I'm always there. You can mail me to loitsacademy@gmail.com. I will revert back to it. Yes, with this basic introduction of the last chapter of Sale of Goods Act 1930, we shall further go ahead. The chapter's name is called Unpaid Seller. Who is an unpaid seller? Where a contract of sale has taken place and the seller is under an obligation to deliver and the buyer is under an obligation to pay for it. That's exactly what we know. Whenever there is a contract of sale, there are respective performances and respective promises to be adhered to. What is the promise and performance of the seller? He has to deliver the goods. What is the promise and performance of the buyer? He has to pay for it. As simple as that. Where the delivery has to be made by the seller and the payment of price has to be made by the buyer. Further, where the buyer fails or refuses to pay, if the buyer fails or refuses to pay, then such seller becomes an unpaid seller. Now, obviously in your mind the immediate question is whether the seller has delivered the goods or not. Now, if we already know the concept that if the delivery of goods is already happened to the buyer is the new owner of the goods. He retaining his possession of the goods is in no way a crime. But the problem is, if the seller is not paid, the seller has only one recourse, that is a suit for recovery of price. What is the chapter that we are trying to understand here? The chapter is pretty simple. It states where the delivery is obligation of this seller and buyer has to pay for it. If the buyer has failed to pay or refuses to pay, then such seller is called unpaid seller who is yet to deliver the goods. If he's already delivered the goods, we know what to do. That is a suit for recovery of the price. That is a case to recover the price. Here is the case where the seller is not yet delivered the goods, but the buyer refuses to pay or fails to pay the payment. In such cases, we call such a seller as unpaid seller. Now, it is interesting to note that, sir, where the delivery of goods is not yet happened and the buyer has failed to make the payment, it is equally true that the seller also has not delivered the goods. So, whose is the breach? Now, that is not the way to look at it. Let's take a scenario where the seller has tendered his performance or ready to deliver his goods, but the buyer has failed to make the payment or refuses to make the payment. It is at this scenario we are trying to understand the concept of unpaid seller. Am I clear, my friends? Let us see what it is. We know that the buyer has failed to pay or refuses to pay, but if you see section 45 subsection 1 of the Sale of Goods Act 1930 also includes where non-payment of even a part of the money or if there is a dishonor of bill of exchange in simple words, a check, then still that remaining component part which is not yet paid, or because of the dishonor of a check, the seller is termed as unpaid seller. That is what I have written. Section 45 subsection 1 includes non-payment of even part of the price and dishonor of a bill of exchange under a concept of unpaid seller. So even if a part payment has not yet done, and where a full payment check has been given, or a bill of exchange or a promissory note is given, but such negotiable instruments have been dishonored by the buyer, then definitely it will be part of the concept of unpaid seller as per section 45 subsection 1 under Sale of Goods Act 1930. We go on further. Seller includes his agent or the consignor. It's pretty natural to include these two people because these people are executing the sale on behalf of the seller. Therefore, it includes both his agent as well as consignor who has paid for it. Next example. Mr. A sold goods to Mr. B for rupees 1 lakh, of which rupees 20,000 is unpaid. Remember, 1 lakh is the total transaction. 80,000 is already been paid by the buyer to the seller, but only 20,000 is yet to be paid. Then in such a scenario, what happens? We call Mr. A as an unpaid seller because he is yet to receive the rupees 20,000 as balance payment, which is part of section 45 subsection 1. And the second example would be Mr. X sold goods to Mr. Y for rupees 70,000, the whole amount of which was paid by a check. Full 70,000 was given by a check, but the check was dishonored. It bounced in local words. Therefore, Mr. X will be termed as an unpaid seller even in this example. So are we clear, my dear friends, as to what we understand by the basic of what is called unpaid seller, the whole of which can come for a 2 marks question. Next, we move on to the important point of what are the rights of an unpaid seller. Basically, the rights are classified into 2 situations, that is, rights against the goods and rights against the buyer. The unpaid seller has a right against the goods, which is not his goods agreed because transfer of ownership has already happened to the buyer, and he has rights against the buyer. In this session, I will be discussing rights against the goods. In the next session, I will be discussing rights against the buyer. So we see what it is. When we come to rights against the goods, we have 3 sub-rights, that is right of lien, right of stoppage in transit, and right of resale. Well, due to the problem of place constraint, I have explained the right of lien and right of resale in this session. I will be explaining right of stoppage in transit in the next session, so kindly hold on to it. Sir, how do we read it then? So first, read or view the video in the form of explanation to right of lien. Stop the video there. My next video would be right of stoppage in transit. Go refer to right of stoppage in transit. Stop the video there. Then come back to right of resale. You'll understand all 3 in a simple way. Let's see what it is. What is meant by a lien? Lien means holding back, retaining it. First one, a right to retain possession of the goods and refuse to deliver. What has the unpaid seller got to do is, he has to say a simple thing called, boss, deliver my price, I will deliver the goods. Pay my price, I will deliver the goods. If you don't pay my price, I will retain the possession of the goods and I will refuse to deliver the goods. Now, in your mind, you should start thinking, what if the seller has already delivered the goods? Can he make such a statement? No, not possible. He can at the best sue the buyer only for recovery of the price. Here is a case where he is retaining the possession of the goods and he is telling that I will refuse to deliver if you don't make the payment. That is the beauty of this concept of unpaid seller under the concept of right of lien. I hope you're getting the link. Next, until the buyer pays the due, the seller, that is the unpaid seller, can retain the possession and refuse to deliver the goods. Next, this right, my dear friends, please understand this topic, which is most important here. This right can be exercised only in the following cases. Only in the following cases. What is that? The right to retain the possession of goods and refuse to deliver the goods if the payment of price is due from the buyer. This right of lien can be exercised only in the following cases. What are those? A. Goods sold without any condition of credit. That means there is no condition whatsoever regarding the credit term or the credit period. So classic example would be a cash sale. Let's say you go to a shop, you buy a bottle of shampoo. What is the understanding of it? You buy a bottle of shampoo and you pay for it. What if you don't pay for it? Definitely the shopkeeper is not giving the product to you. There might have been a sale, there might be a transfer of ownership, but till you make the payment, the possession of goods lies within the shopkeeper's place. Therefore, the shopkeeper can retain the possession of the goods, refuse to deliver the goods until the buyer has made the payment. So, if there is no credit term or credit period, then we can apply this concept of right of lien. Am I clear, my friends? Next, second one. Goods sold on credit, but the credit period has expired. Let's say you have sold the goods by entering into a transaction by giving a 30 days credit limit. Remember, you have not delivered the goods. If you have already delivered the goods, this point does not come. Only right to recover the price by filing a case. That situation would arise. Say where you have sold the goods to the buyer and you have given a 30 days credit period. That credit period is expired. Credit period is expired, then you can retain the possession of the goods and you can refuse to deliver the goods until and unless the payment of price has happened. And lastly, if the buyer has become insolvent. We have already understood what is meant by insolvent, where during the normal course of business, the buyer is unable to pay his debts. In the normal, ordinary course of business, if the buyer is unable to pay his debts, such person can be called as insolvent. Remember, if the buyer is insolvent, seller is yet to deliver the goods, he can retain the possession of the goods, stating that since the buyer is insolvent, he can exercise the right of lien in this transaction. What is the next part? Note, these rights cannot apply. So first, basically, we understood what is the right of lien. Next, when to apply. Next, when the seller cannot apply. Let's see. These rights cannot apply if, first point, if the seller has delivered the goods to the carrier or the bailee, that means a person who is transporting the goods, who is called carrier, or the bailee who is holding the possession of the goods on behalf of another person. If the seller has, that is, if the unpaid seller has delivered goods to the carrier or bailee for transmission to the buyer without reserving the right of disposal. This is where right of disposal, reserving the right of disposal becomes important. Please recall our previous sessions, how much we have discussed about reserving the right of disposal. Am I clear, my dear friends? When a seller, that is an unpaid seller, has delivered the goods, the possession of which, to a carrier, let's say a railway guy or a lorry guy or a ship guy, thereafter, if he has or otherwise delivered the goods to bailee who is holding it on behalf of the buyer, that's what I say here, delivered the goods to carrier or bailee for transmission to the buyer, it does not end there. Just by delivering the goods to the lorry or just by delivering the goods to Mr. A as a bailee does not end there. It goes on further to state that without reserving the right of disposal. if the seller, that is unpaid seller, has delivered it to the carrier or has delivered it to the bailee and he is not having the right of disposal, if he is not having or if he is not reserved the right of disposal, then he cannot apply right of lien. So ideally, what should be the scenario? First, he's retained the possession. Second, he's refused to pay or deliver the goods till the payment has happened. Now, what if the situation is like this? Let's say the buyer says, okay boss, you deliver the goods to so and so lorry, my person. The moment I receive the goods, I will make the payment to the lorry guy. Believing that if the seller, that is the unpaid seller, has loaded the goods to the lorry person is the person who is belonging to the buyer. Effectively, the goods has been delivered by the seller to the buyer. Here, the payment of price does not appear to be in question. What is it? Yes, you can fight out for the payment of price later on in the court of law for a suit of recovery of price. Remember, if the same situation had been reversed, what is that? If the buyer has informed the unpaid seller that to load the goods to the lorry or to a railway or to the ship, as soon as the goods comes, I will make the payment, take delivery. But the extra point that you have to understand here is, if by chance the unpaid seller has told the lorry guy or the railway guy or the ship guy that do not deliver the goods till I make the order. So delivery of goods under the order of the seller. If such concept had been there, then we say the seller had reserved the right of disposal, then definitely the possession of the goods, even though it is with the carrier or a bailee, the buyer cannot take the delivery of the goods until and unless the payment has been made. In other words, the seller still retains the possession of the goods. Am I clear? So, if he is not reserved the right of disposal of the goods, where the goods is already loaded to the carrier or the bailee, without reserving the right of disposal, then he cannot apply this right of lien. That is what I am trying to tell. When he cannot apply, if he has taken care of reservation of right of disposal, then he can retain the possession. Technically, it is still within his possession only. If by chance he does not reserve the right of disposal, then he is lost the possession. Buyer being the true owner of the goods, he gets the delivery of the goods. At the best, the seller can only file a case for recovery of price. Next, where the buyer has lawfully obtained the possession, it's fair enough. Where the buyer has lawfully obtained the possession from the seller, then what more the seller can do? Seller can only apply for suit for price, that is recovery of the price. Where possession is already given to the buyer, what else the seller can do? He cannot do much. Right of lien does not apply over there. Next, the seller itself has waived the right of lien. So, where the seller has told the buyer, listen boss, I am waiving the right of lien. Delivery of goods or non-delivery of goods doesn't matter here. Seller at the best can file a suit for recovery of price only. He cannot get the right of lien because he himself has waived it, given it up. Are you able to understand? Next, by estoppel, this is pretty interesting to note. We have already covered this earlier. Estoppel, if the seller leads the third party to believe that the lien does not exist. So, if the seller has held out to the world that right of lien he is not exercising, or he has waived it off, or he's given it up, or he stated something in a way that the right of lien does not exist with him. In such scenario, he is estopped. He is denied later to reverse his statement. That means if he is led the third party to believe, if he is made the third party to understand that the right of lien is not there with him, then he is estopped from exercising the right of lien. Am I clear with this, friends? Let's move on to right of resell. Ideally, I should have done right of stoppage in transit, but I need the entire board probably to explain you the right of stoppage in transit. Therefore, I will take that in the next session. As of now, we will see the third right, that is right of right of resale. First point, resale means to resell, in simple words, to resell the goods to someone. Without this right, then right of lien, which we already covered, and right of stoppage in transit, which I will cover in the next session, has no meaning at all. Ultimately, what are we understanding, my dear friends? Right of lien or right of stoppage in transit is a right given to the unpaid seller to retain back his possession of the goods, to refuse to deliver the goods. That is what we have understood till the payment of price is made. But what is happening here, if without the right of resale, then the other two rights becomes redundant. It does not have any meaning to it. Therefore, what he states is, without the right of resale, then the right of lien or right of stoppage in transit has no meaning, as the unpaid seller could have only retained the goods, but with this right he can resell the goods. So with the right of stoppage in transit and right of lien, at the best he could have only retained these goods. This third right, which is a matter of fact a very important right, it gives him the right to resell the goods. Then comes the various points of discussion. Very important target short notes question, in my opinion. Let's see what is the right to resell is all about. A right to resell is under the following cases. What is it? First one, where the goods is perishable, like take an example of vegetables. Where the goods is perishable, the seller need not give notice to the buyer. Remember the sequence. Seller is yet to deliver the goods. Seller is refusing to deliver the goods. He is having the possession of the goods. He states to the buyer that you make the payment, you take the delivery. Then, assuming these goods are perishable goods, how long can the seller wait for the payment? That question has to be answered here. Therefore, assuming it is a perishable goods, vegetables, or any product which has a very, very short shelf life, the seller is not expected to give notice to the buyer stating that, listen boss, I am holding your goods, you make the payment, I will deliver the goods. When are you going to make the payment? So much of time is not available with the seller, my dear friends. So seller is not expected to give notice to the buyer. He can resell the goods because it is perishable in nature. Now, what about other goods? In case of other goods, he may give the notice to the buyer of his intention to resell. In the first case, in the case of perishable goods, seller need not give the notice to the buyer, he can resell the goods. But in the second case, where in case of other goods where it is durable, has a longer shelf life, then buyer may give a notice to the seller, the seller may give a notice to the buyer of his intention to resell upon non-payment of price. Seller can't be waiting for eternity, my dear friends. Seller also has to do business. Out of this proceeds, he has to go and buy in the market. His working capital starts, his salaries, his rent, his sales, his purchases, so many things gets affected. So seller basically need not wait for eternity. He can give a notice to the buyer intending to resell the goods if the payment of price has not happened. What is it? In such a case, the seller can recover the difference between contract price and resale price from the original buyer, retain the profit if the resale price is greater than the contract price. Now, what is the necessity for the seller to give a notice to the buyer of his intention to resell? These two are the important points to look at it. Observe it very clearly. I have used the word may. If the seller gives notice of intention to resell, then by chance the contracted price of the next sale is lesser than the original price. If it is lesser than the original price, I clearly make it very, very simple that if the contracted price of the original seller is different from the resale price of the new product, or take it vice versa also, I have no problem. If there is a difference, any loss therefrom any loss therefrom can be recovered from the buyer. Any profit therefrom need not be given to the buyer. That is the beauty of giving notice to the buyer. Just clearly understand this. Recover the difference between contract price and resale price from the original buyer. That means, let's take an example. If there were 10,000 units at the rate of 10 rupees per unit contracted between the original buyer and the original seller, original buyer is yet to pay, delivery of the goods is still with the original seller, who is called unpaid seller. He is yet to deliver the goods because payment of price has not happened. This unpaid seller has given notice to the buyer stating that if you don't make the payment, I intend to resell these goods to some other person. And in spite of it, if the original buyer is silent, the unpaid seller eventually sells the goods to someone else. Let's say, if I'll give you two situations, if the same 10,000 units was sold at 9 rupees per unit because there was a time lag, maybe market conditions did not accept it at 10 rupees, so it was sold at 9 rupees, definitely there is a loss of 10,000 units into 1 rupee. That is, this 10,000 rupees can be recovered by the unpaid seller from the buyer. Which buyer? Original buyer, as damages. Vis-a-vis that, I would give a reverse example where if this 10,000 units was sold by the unpaid seller to the new buyer at 11 rupees, then there is a profit of 1 rupee per unit into 10,000 units. That is, rupees 10,000 is the profit. This profit, observe this point, can be retained. If this profit of rupees 10,000 can be retained. By whom, my dear friends? By the unpaid seller itself. He need not part it with the buyer. Remember, when is this possible? It is possible only if notice is given. Sir, then what happens if notice is not given? Check this. Therefore, if notice is not given, then the above rights does not apply. It works reverse. Let's say in the same example, if notice is not given and first transaction where the unpaid seller sold the goods to the new buyer at 9 rupees, incurring a loss of 10,000 rupees, that is 10,000 units into 1 rupee, this loss has to be borne by the unpaid seller itself because unpaid seller has not given the notice. Vis-a-vis that, if by chance the unpaid seller has sold it to a new buyer at 11 rupees and made a profit of 10,000 rupees, this profit has to be given to the original buyer. Why? The goods belongs to the original buyer. Second most important condition is this unpaid seller has not given notice. So you take a call whether it is advantageous to give notice or not to give notice. Fantastic. Next, if right to resell is exercised, the new buyer will get valid titles. We have seen this in non-owner selling the goods and still the new buyer getting valid titles. If the right of resale is exercised, the new buyer will get valid titles. It does not matter if notice of resale is given or not. So whether the unpaid seller has given a notice to the buyer, that is the original buyer, of his intention to resell or not, it doesn't matter. The new buyer gets valid title to goods. This was also what we had discussed in a non-owner being a seller. Next, I hope that point was straightforward enough for you to understand. If a right to resell is expressly reserved in a contract of sale, that means when you are entered into a contract, in the document itself, through one of the clauses, a right to resell was reserved on behalf of the unpaid seller or the seller. If that is one of the conditions of the contract, that in case the buyer does not pay it within time or so and so duration, then the seller has a right of disposal of the goods. If that is the situation, then it doesn't matter whether you give notice or not. That means you need not give notice. Point number 3, the two important points what we understood, that is loss can be recovered and profit can be retained by the unpaid seller. Both the 2 points will apply if by chance in the contract already there is a clause which states that the seller, unpaid seller, reserves the right of disposal. So it pretty becomes very clear that in almost all the contract documents it is fairly possible for the seller to put this clause as an important condition. Lastly, if property in goods is not passed on to the buyer, then the seller, in addition to the above remedies, has a right to withhold the delivery under quasi-lien concept. The first point itself is a very weak point, that is the starting point, which says if the goods is not yet passed on, if the property in the goods is not passed on to the buyer, then it is quite obvious that the seller is still the owner of the goods. Then he has, in addition to the above remedies, a right to withhold delivery. He can withhold delivery. The buyer cannot come and ask for delivery at all. This concept comes under quasi-lien concept. In Contract Act, we have discussed about a concept called quasi-contracts or quasi-contracts. Under that, we can cover this topic. So what is that we have understood under right of resale, my dear friends? Very quickly, I would like to recap right of resale. Without right of resale, right of stoppage in transit or right of lien is redundant. Then, if it is perishable, notice need not be given. If it is other goods, notice may be given. If notice is given, profit or loss can be recovered, profit can be retained. If notice is not given, loss has to be suffered, profit has to be given back to the original buyer. Then if it is exercised, that is, a right of resale is exercised, a new buyer will get valid titles, and if it is expressly reserved in the contract, that is, a right to or reservation of right to dispose the goods is already given in the contract, then seller need not give notice, and all the points or all the rights or all the benefits mentioned in point 3 equally applies. And lastly, you can withhold the delivery if the property in the goods has not yet transferred to the buyer. So these were the important points as far as rights of an unpaid seller under right of lien and right of resale is concerned. My next session will include right of stoppage in transit and rights against a buyer. We will try and cover it up in the next session. Thank you so much. By chance, if you have any doubts, please do mail me your doubts to loitacademy@gmail.com. I will revert back to you. Thank you.